Hello, everybody, and welcome again to Community Forum. My name is Ron Vecchia, and today we're going to talk about the Bay State chapter of Freedom's Foundation and Freedom's Foundation in general, which is located in Pennsylvania. And joining me today is Dr. Matt Mallen, who happens to be the chapter president of the Bay State chapter. Matt, welcome again. You were here last year around this time?
Yes, thank you, Ron. Thanks for inviting me.
Great to have you back.
Thank you.
We happen to share a little interest because we both are members of Freedom Foundation. Matt is the chapter president. I've been involved for some years now. Why don't you give the folks an idea, the Bay State chapter, when it was formed, who was responsible? It's a person
Sure.
that a lot of folks in Winthrop know.
Absolutely. Well, the Bay State chapter started 38 years ago. It was founded primarily by Judge Joe Farina, who got it up and running. It's now one of 17 chapters nationwide of a national organization, which is headquartered in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. They have a great campus down there. And the judge got things going, got some of his friends together and say, hey, you know, this is something that we could do to help the youth and help the community. And he started the chapter. And what we're doing is two major things every year. One is a youth leadership conference where we typically send 10 of the high school students in the local area down to Valley Forge.
Which I just came back from.
Right, you were just there for 3 days. And it's a fantastic thing. And they teach the kids all about the founding documents. That's the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution. There's a lot about leadership and entrepreneurial things that they make them work on projects and build a business from scratch, so to speak.
Kind of like the Shark Tank, that they go through this whole process. Which
Yeah,
is
that's
pretty
a good
cool.
analogy.
Yeah.
And it really gets their minds going. And it's a fantastic thing for these kids. Now, this is done on a scholarship basis. So when we send those kids there, we pay all the expenses, the transportation. We send 2 chaperones typically with them. And we've sent now close to 400 students over those 38 years, I venture to say. And I'm telling you, every single one of them comes back and says it was a great experience.
It was a great experience for me. I had an opportunity to be a chaperone, and it was 3.5 days of pure getting into history, but seeing these young people, you know, just get involved with, you know, there's one portion of the leadership conference that they spend several hours in the afternoon like a body of Congress, and they debate bills or amendment to bills. And there's a gentleman who actually was from Massachusetts that played the speaker during this whole process. And the kids have an opportunity to see what it's like, you know, what happens in Congress when there's a bill out there and they want to put amendments to the bill and how this whole process works. It was very, very interesting. And that whole idea about that little afternoon that we spent, kind of like Shark Tank. They were divided up into 6 groups, and each group had to come up with an idea, a concept for some type of a product, a service, and they actually built this product, and then they had to pitch the product in front of a panel of judges. And you know, on the last night that we were there, certain ones won awards and so forth. But it really, really is an awesome experience for any young person. And like I said, I was really thrilled to be able to.
Well, a couple of the other highlights I could mention. One is they'll have historical figures in costume.
The first day, that was the first thing.
When I was there, it was Alexander Hamilton and John Adams.
That's correct.
And they're going back and forth, really needling each other because they were rivals, but of course they're high intellect and talking in the parlance of the day. And of course they're in the colonial outfits and debating various issues. So it's a great way to learn, and it's a fun experience for everybody.
That's the first thing that they did, and it really got the kids really involved in it. Maybe we'll show a couple of pictures of the Freedom Foundation in Valley Forge itself. These are just a couple of pictures I took when this was, I think, the first picture. That flag is the biggest flagpole I've ever seen in my life. I heard the Army Corps of Engineers actually built that special for them. And it's huge, absolutely huge. There's various statues around the area, and it's set up in such a way that each state is represented. That building behind George Washington on a horse is I think one of the dormitories that we stayed in. It was set up so that the chaperones stayed in one building and the boys and girls were divided. You know, they each had their own building to stay in. That happens to be the chapel. The last night of the ceremony, do you remember that?
Yes, the candlelight
that
ceremony.
was
And all.
very dramatic. I was up in the where the organ was, so I could get some pictures. And incidentally, we'll show these pictures. We're going to have some of the students in so that they can discuss the experience that they had when they went down. But this was the last night. I'll save my comments for when we show it. But these are just some of the memorials that are out. That happens to be for the Gold Star Mothers. Just a wonderful, wonderful experience. This is located right next to Valley Forge Park, the National Historic Park. So you have an opportunity. The last day that we were there, we actually had an opportunity to go and visit the park itself, where a lot of the reenactments of, where they set up all of their, well, first of all, we went to George Washington's home, which was unbelievable, his headquarters.
I love that, because you were actually in the house that George Washington stayed in. The old George Washington slept here.
Yeah.
And I remember being, in the upstairs bedroom and just looking out the window, and it was the same glass that was there 240 years ago, and thinking, George Washington looked right through that out at that field, and it probably looked essentially the same back then, at least the grass. And,
Matt,
wow,
what is really the mission of, would you say, the mission of Freedom's Foundation?
Well, it's to teach the founding documents and to teach what we used to call civics, how the government works and how a citizen needs to function in a free society.
Right.
That's the essence of it.
Right.
And then they segue from that into the business and entrepreneurial type thing. Another thing you could mention that's great for the kids when they go down there is that, as we are one of 17 chapters, they have 3 or 4 of these youth conferences in a year. We go to one.
Right.
And so in any given time, there's several other chapters, maybe 4 or 5, 6, sending kids there.
Yeah.
So there's approximately 100 kids there.
Yep.
We sent 10. And they are intentionally mixed in as roommates. So a kid from Massachusetts is not staying with one of his buddies from Massachusetts. He's now, or she's now, in with some Mormon from Utah maybe. And so it's a real cultural shock in some ways. And they meet people from all over the country. They make lifelong friendships, which of course now is so much easier to keep in touch with people with the social media than back when we were pen pals or
They
something.
were already on there, Facebooking each other and friending each other.
And it's really a great thing that way.
Yeah. I know another program that we have involves teachers, and scholarships are available for teachers to take extra credit. Could you explain that a little bit?
Well, as you have been kind enough to try to get that off the ground, because they have a great program there where they teach, I think there's 3 different programs. One is the Constitution, and I'd be remiss on what the other 2 are, some type of history. And they offer credits, these are graduate credits, to teachers. And now all teachers in the business, they need those postgraduate credits to work their way up the hierarchy. And these are in the summer, and they have tremendous scholarship available, so that if we were to send a couple of teachers, for instance, from Winthrop, they'd have to pay a little bit, but it might cost them a few $100s, and there's an endowment there that pays for a lot of it.
Right.
So they're able to get a couple of college credits for very little funds compared to if they went, say, to BC or BU at the same time. Plus, they'd have the experience of being at Valley Forge.
Right.
And we're trying to get that going. I can use a cheat sheet here, maybe. They have the Medal of Honor Legacy, Civil War South, American Revolution South. So they've actually expanded it this year. And the War on Terror, and then Heroes and Heroines, which is a biography session. So these are really good things, and we're trying to get some of the teachers, particularly a history teacher, to go, because much of this stuff doesn't get taught anymore. And the way we feel is if we can get a couple of teachers per year enthusiastic about teaching this material, each of those teachers is now maybe talking to 150 kids in the course of a year, and the next year and the next year, and then we've got 2 more teachers the following year. So it could snowball, and we can bring back a lot of this Americanism, which seems to be in style lately, and I like that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So one of the other things that we really wanted to get together quickly to discuss is an upcoming awards luncheon.
Right.
And every year the Freedoms Foundation chapter, all the chapters across the country, they recognize certain individuals that go above and beyond. And this year we have a fundraiser, not a fundraiser, but a luncheon coming up on April 29th at Spinelli's Function Hall in East Boston. It starts at 1 o'clock, and maybe you can give us an idea of who the recipients are and why.
Well, every year, as you said, we hold the awards dinner, and people who have done outstanding community service are awarded the George Washington Honor Medal. Now, this is a national award, so we as a chapter nominate the potential awardees, and it's the jury in Valley Forge that decides whether they would get that nomination, get the award. And Dottie D'Onofrio has been running the awards part of the organization and doing a very good job with that. So this year we had 3 people who have been selected as recipients of the George Washington Honor Medal, and they'll be receiving that on April 29th. And they all happen to be from Winthrop.
That's right.
One is 12 years old, and I have a question in there to find out if she, in fact, is going to be the youngest recipient. I haven't got the answer back, but I can't imagine they're much younger.
Yep.
And that's Mia Martucci. And she ran a lemonade stand from the age of, I think, 9 she started, and she's raised many thousands of dollars for cancer research at Children's Hospital. I mean, it's just an incredible thing for a young woman to do that. And in fact, Haven Pereira, who's a friend of hers, who's also about 12, is going to be singing the national anthem when we get the award ceremony going. So that's one. Cheryl Howard for her Veterans Honor Project, and she's made sure that we had flags adorning Veterans Road to honor our veterans, and they're all up on the utility poles, and it spread around a little bit from there. And also USMC Sergeant Andrew Biggio, who started a motorcycle ride, and
Which is coming up.
yeah, when is it?
It's coming up then within the next month or so.
It's called They Fought, We Ride.
Right.
And are you maybe more familiar with
Yeah,
that?
it's the kind of thing that he's, I guess, all these motorcycle enthusiasts come to this, and it's part of a fundraiser. And they usually end up over at Suffolk Downs. And he does it every year.
And where do the funds go?
I think they go to some type of organization.
It's the Wounded Warriors, actually,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right. So that's the 3 that are the George Washington Honor Medals. And then this year, for the first time, in fact, Dottie, again, came up with the idea to nominate 2 Boston police officers as what we call a Heroes Award.
Right.
This is a new award that Freedoms Foundation has started. So it isn't a community service thing, it's someone who did something outstanding and, well, not to be redundant, but heroic. And we selected Officer Clifton Singletary and Sergeant Norberto Perez, both of Boston Police Department. You might remember back, I think it was last August, maybe September, there was a shooting up on Gladstone Street where the police responded to some foolish, what was a domestic squabble supposedly between a couple of roommates. And when they got there, this fellow had a bulletproof vest on and he was ready to shoot it out with the cops. And in fact, a couple of them were severely wounded. And these 2 officers we're honoring saved the life of Officer Morris by one of them getting his thumb literally on the femoral artery in the thigh here that was hemorrhaging, and getting the blood stopped there as the other fellow tied a tourniquet on him, and they pulled him out of the line of fire and saved his life. He would have bled out and died had they not done that.
It was interesting, too, that they had just got the tourniquet training.
Right, just about a week before.
Yeah, that's great. So that's going to be April 29th, and tickets are on sale. They're available. You can call myself at 617-846-7959. It's really a great affair to to recognize these individuals, and especially this year where 3 of the individuals are from Winthrop.
Right.
So
come on out and show your support, and
exactly
have a nice turkey dinner on the same time.
Exactly.
At the same time.
Well, we're gonna leave it there because we'd like to get this rolling and this information out because it's only April 29th. When we come back the next time, we're going to have several of the students that were on the trip to Freedom's Foundation, and we'll have a bunch of photos and also some video to show you exactly what these kids did for 3.5 days. It was a great trip. Dr. Mallen, thanks for stopping by.
Oh, hey, great. Thanks for inviting me, and we'll see you on the 29th.
Absolutely. So till next time, this is Ron Vecchia. You've been watching Community Forum.